Let me tell you a movie that isn't average.
Speaking of getting your dander up,
Halloween Ends is a fucking atrocity. It's a crime against celluloid.
oh boy.
Holy shit. I don't want to steal a talking point completely from Barry, but I think he was the one that had a tweet about how, like, the more we look back on that 2019 Halloween, the more it's like that movie was good by the grace of God and pure fucking accident. Because holy shit, this trilogy has gone places since then. And I don't mean that in a good way. So we had the fucking weird ass middle chapter, which felt like the most... This is 2 hours of filler until we get to the final chapter thing. We all know where it's gonna end. There were some things that were interesting ideas about it. I kind of, as a horror movie fan, I enjoyed seeing characters from previous movies come back in, seeing what they're up to. I did like them trying to do the Halloween 2 thing again of, here's a sequel to the movie that takes place literally the same night the first one did. That was a cool little idea. But to say the execution was poor is putting it mildly. Especially when it gets to the ranting and raving of the evil dies tonight and the whole town becoming a torch and pitchfork mob going to try and kill Michael by themselves. And then we get to Halloween Ends. I take no small amount of pleasure in being able to tell you, gentlemen, I did not pay 1 penny for this movie. I, quote unquote, purchased it from my home last week because the scores from people I trusted were such to tell me that if I went out of my house to go and see this in the cinema, I'd be real fucking mad that I did. So I said, right, I'll sit down and I'll watch it tonight and see. And here's the thing, I really wanted it to be good. It's not like I was going, I can't wait to bury this on the podcast. I loved that first one of the trilogy, and I really wanted this to stick the landing, that we could forget about the middle chapter. Once it started and ended fine, then I would have been absolutely happy. This is a fucking abysmal movie, right? Right, because it's so bad, I think I'm just going to talk spoilers.
Go for it.
Check the timestamps for when we get to the next thing. But okay, this movie opens with the murder of a child, right? And what I want you to know...
Only the best movies like this and Face Off.
Yeah. Well, I was very much reminded by Jason Mantzoukas' rant about how... the murder of a child is the opening scene to this movie. But here's the thing. Every single character in this movie is so horrible and obnoxious that my reaction to this brutal death of a child was good. You know?
Why?
The kid was a little cunt, basically. Is the best way to put this, right? And what happens is he's terrorizing this weirdo babysitter, this awkward dude, and locks him in the attic, and the dude basically kicks open the door hits the child in the face, the child flies over the banister down 3 flights of stairs and crunches in a pile of bones and blood on the floor and dies in front of his parents.
Believe that's called a Swift.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah, he does a Swift. And that's your cold open. The other thing that you don't really know from the trailers of this movie is that 80% of this movie is not about Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode or about Michael Myers. It's about that fucking babysitter. He is the main character of this movie. Okay? And he is awful. He is horrendous, right? There are some loose notes of what would have been an interesting idea for a movie. So there's a lot of talk about, I mentioned, I think last week on the show when I was doing my horror roundup, is I really enjoy when a movie is talking about a serious theme through the lens of horror. And if you've seen any press about this movie, Jamie Lee Curtis and everyone else is like, well, this is really a movie about trauma. And there is kind of like, there could be a cool idea pulled from the loose threads of what happens over 40 years to a small town, a closed community, where something as horrifying as Michael Myers happens. And then obviously, like, he came back in Halloween 2019, and this is the other thing. So the cold open happens, I believe, either the year of Michael Myers' return from the first movie or the year after, I can't remember which. And then, like, once the opening titles happen, you smash cut 4 years later. And it's whole, since that night when the town tried to murder Michael and he, you know, hulked up and got away, no one has seen him. He just fucking disappeared, which is like, even for a Halloween movie, is highly improbable. Like, the whole thing about The Shape is, like, he's fucking massive. Like, he's not exactly fucking subtle. He's not somebody that can go missing in a town this small and nobody just accidentally run into him. But apparently he's been living in the fucking sewers and shit. And your whole thing is following this guy who, he murdered the child in the cold open, and now he's viewed as the town freak, the baby killer, etc., etc., etc. And at one stage, when he's at his lowest ebb, he's literally, actually, he's not quite Taylor Swifted, but he does get accosted by some local youths, Jack, and he gets yeeted off a bridge, which I did laugh at. Again, I'm supposed to have sympathy for him at this point because he hasn't done his turn, and I just laughed at him getting fucked off a bridge by these people. And while he's, you know, rolling down the hill, he gets dragged into the sewers by Michael Myers. But then him and Michael Myers, I swear to God, become pals.
Of course.
So Michael sees something in this kid where they basically become a tag team, and they're kind of telling you that, oh, look, Michael is, you know, he's moving slower. He's obviously old at this stage. So it's like him and this dude are going around, you know, killing people as a tandem. And it's more that, like, this kid, the former babysitter, has snapped and he's taking it all out on, you know, the people of the town who've insulted him or mistreated him over the years, etc., etc., etc. All the while, he is very coincidentally cozying up to Laurie Strode's granddaughter, who, of the three female leads in the first one, of Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, and her, was by far the worst and least interesting. Unfortunately, they fucking killed Judy Greer off at the end of the second one. And they basically are just trying to keep Jamie Lee Curtis busy until the end, because we all know, like, at the end, it's the her versus Michael showdown. So you get, like, of this 2-hour movie, it's like an hour and a half of Michael and this guy being pals, and him on his, like, you know, he's trying to romance the granddaughter, but then he's also, like, doing the killings, and it's just this fucking boring ass shit. And then we get to the fight between Laurie and Michael, and it's, you know what, for 5 minutes, it's good. It's kind of, it's what people who have been following this franchise for years would have wanted. The knockdown, drag out, one-on-one, Laurie finally kills Michael.
Okay, but I have to ask, like, the how does that work in a sense of, we're talking about, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis, who'd be, what, in her 60s, 70s at this point,
yeah.
And like how
because he's also in his 60s. Like, they're of an age to each other.
Yeah, but he's still a large, physically imposing man.
But they are selling you. They're doing, like, the movie equivalent of bad limb work throughout this movie, where they're trying to put over to you that one of the reasons he is palling around with this little fucking dweeb is that he can't really go on his spree anymore. He finally is looking like a fairly broken old man. He can still do it sometimes. Like, there's a couple of kills he has where, like, he's still monstrously strong and stuff like that. But then even in the original movie and in the first of this remake trilogy, they do very much put Laurie across as, no, since Michael went away 40 years ago, she basically went native and was training herself for the day where he came back. Like, she, in that movie...
Wait, is she fucking Sarah Connor now or something?
No, yeah, in that remake she was, but it was actually good. I promise you that first one was good. Where she had basically, like, she was armed to the teeth granny, and she was fucking badass in that movie. But what's really shitty about it is, like, they're trying to level the playing field by, one, making Michael look old, and two, in the opening act of this movie, after all this because again, this is a movie where they're trying to sell you on this town, and particularly Laurie and her granddaughter have been traumatized since the original incident 40 years ago. And the first act of this movie, she's just normal grandma. She is like, she burns a cobbler in the oven, and, you know, she's writing her memoirs and shit like that. So, which is completely like, not a betrayal of the Laurie character, but it's like, her whole thing is that she's not going to get closure until the fucker is dead, and we all know he's not dead. So why is she just being chill grandma when she spent 40 years in the woods booby-trapping her house for the day when he'd come back? Like, what the fuck is this shit? But their fight is really good, and it's a flavour of, like, that original remake, and I think they did that final fight justice. But the problem is that you had to wade through an hour and a half of absolute dog shit to get to it, so you feel like that scene in isolation was good, but movie, you did not earn this. You did not get to do this, and it is the most conclusive, like, this fucker is not coming back. They will remake these movies again, and that is how they will come back. I thought for a while, I was like, oh my god, this is how they're going to continue the movies, because, like, at one point, little dweeb fucker, Corey is his name, little dweeb.
Corey is an excellent name for a little dweeb fucker.
Little dweeb fucker runs into, because he's trying to get the courage up to commit, like, a few of the more brutal murders he does in the movie. So he goes and steals Michael's mask off him in the sewers to do these killings. And I was like, oh fuck, this is what they're doing. Corey is going to be the new Shape. He's going to be wearing the mask, and that's how, you know, Laurie's going to kill Michael at the end of this, but Corey will continue on the legacy, and Michael Myers is more than just actual Michael Myers. He is the Shape. He is this idea of fear, blah blah blah. But no,
I feel like Michael Myers is like the fucking Danny DeVito's Penguin to some degree in the way you've set him up in this.
He is like, Corey is also conclusively killed off before Michael even is. So you're just like, oh, okay. So that's not what Michael finally kills him. Like, obviously has enough of him and kills him. But Michael is like, he is pinned to a counter, like giant American refrigerator, pinning his legs to one side of the counter, pinned by blades through his arms and his chest to the counter. And then his one free arm, he nearly strangles Laurie, and the granddaughter comes in and fucking brutally snaps that arm. And then Laurie, in like proper cold psychopath fashion, calmly starts walking around the table, slits his throat, slits his wrists vertically on both arms. Like, this dude, not only was I like, okay, he's not coming back this time, but then afterwards, and this is the most mental thing of all, right, where it's like, okay, that is a conclusive end to him. And then they took it to Wacky Town, right? Because they had a Chekhov's gun in this movie, where very early on you see that Corey works in a scrapyard, and there's the big kind of like crusher, grinder, fucking trash compactor machine there. And what they do is they strap Michael, who is, again, conclusively dead, to the roof of Laurie's car, because the idea is, even if we kill him, people aren't going to believe that the boogeyman is dead. So they strap him to the roof. I swear to God, this is what happens in the movie, because Mark is looking at me like I've lost my mind at the moment.
I'm just getting reminiscent. You remember when we played Heavy Rain and the detective fucking eats it? Jason!
They strap him to the roof of the car. They drive him through the town like it's the fucking FA Cup parade. And they're on top of the bus with Michael. The streets are lined with people who are coming out to see this elderly serial killer dead, bleeding all over this car as they're driving him through the town, and people are like taking photos and gasping and applauding. They bring him to the junkyard and fucking lash his body into the trash compactor grinder thing, and like you see his body go in and his head burst and all this shit, and it's pretty gory, but it's just like it's just quite literally overkill, but not in the way that are fun in these movies, in a way where it's like, look, we know no one's going to believe he's dead, so we need to like really kill him about 16 times over for you to believe that this is the end of the franchise. It's a real fucking piece of shit. All the dialogue is so stilted and awful and written by people who may never have actually talked to other human beings in their lives. The kind of the trauma metaphor is really, really strained. Really, like, you're trying to elevate this movie beyond what it is. Cop yourselves on to fuck. Yeah, like aside from that one scene where they finally fucking throw down in the house, it's real fucking bad. And that Corey guy is a fucking dickhead. Yeah, this movie sucks. It really sucks. And I'm quite happy for these movies to go away for quite a long time. Even though I suspect within a couple of years somebody else will be remaking the first one again. But I don't think you're gonna. I could be wrong, but I don't think you're going to get a better remake than. They're not really remakes either. Like, it's a sequel trilogy, but you're not going to get a better return to the franchise than that Halloween from a few years ago.
Was that Rob Zombie joined that one?
No, God, no. That was a different remake series. So right. he did.
I am so fucking out of the loop on.
He did a remake of Halloween and Halloween 2, himself in like the 2010s.
And are they non-canon then? Like
yeah, so the one from 2018, 2019, whichever the first of this trilogy, whenever it came out, this basically it's a patchwork canon, to say the least. If you're trying to make sense of all of them, yeah, very much. Right. And this disregards pretty much everything that happened after the first movie. So it retcons everything, like your Halloween 2s and 3s.
What a disrespect to H2O, honestly.
Yeah, H2O, things like that. But yeah, this movie blows. And the thing that's going to be really sickening is like the next couple of weeks, I'm already seeing the contrarian takes of, you know what? It's not that bad. I was like, it is that bad. I think it's just a huge amount of copium in the air at the moment, mainly based off one scene. Yeah, sucks.